think and buts, or what we can do, what we can teach from the past point of view. And they're related to why we have to go to China, why we have to bring this teaching to China or to some other places. So this is what I'm trying to talk about. The first image actually is very important. I want you to remember. And this was in June this year. This is not long ago. This is a place that supposed to be the place that the first master of Feng Shui, when he took the documents of Feng Shui writing from the emperor's palace, then he came to this place on top of the mountain to do research on Feng Shui, and at the same time he teaches his two pupils in this place. So that's why we went to see this place with some bus people in June. So this is the place that almost the greatest master in China, he did a teaching there. Yeah. So this is also the symposium is about the great teacher of Oscar Hansen. So I'm trying to make the comparison. Okay. So so I want to talk about this question: why we have to go to China? But it's really not because everybody is going now. It's really not because of this. We have, I guess we should have a better reason for that. And as I heard about Lu Xunco's talking, you see the world is like this, and it's kind of, to me, it's really like there's a game, there's a sort of international gangster in architecture trying to implement foreign architecture in different countries. And at the same time, you know, the local businessmen trying to also make money through this European image of villas to the local people. So that's what's happening in Beijing, and that's really not a good thing. You see the very kind of formalist structure behind this simple buildings in Beijing. The so was in India. The same thing happening there. You see this kind of very bad version of Corbusian tower for housing, and usually you make the first floor open for parking, and that's a typical type in India. But at the same time, people living like this. So this is trying to say the local people, just like Professor Wong was talking, they still have the ability in trying to make their own houses by using very cheap material and simple techniques. So this is also the people in Bombay, and they try to survive near the sea and making a temporary shelter for their houses. Just for, actually this was only for 4 months. The government allowed them to stay here for 4 months, then they have to move somewhere else. So they have to just move around and they have to build their own houses. So I would say there's one reason that we go there, is that probably we should go there to help the need for a better approach. Because there should be a better approach for them, or for us too. So maybe that's one of the reasons. And then the other reason is that of course that's a different culture, a different landscape. We can go there to see. This is a one night in It's a very nice. And this is behind Professor Wang's university. There's a night market, and people was sitting there eating. And it was quite an experience that we saw the Chinese pump in the park. So there's it makes you think how this world is, how this culture exchanges. So I would say it's to obtain literacy of different culture. And I would say, why I say different, because that's really different. It's not just the different country in Europe, it's a different culture. It's really a different culture. And then more important, I think, is probably to just to get into the situation that's of a bigger scale, or just simply a bigger size. And see, this is what we have done near the gate of Great Wall in the more west of China. You see, these are the one-to-one sketches. See? Maybe one of these is Swen. We can recognize. This image is Professor Wang had shown this area, this house. You see people using this corridor. This is just a high density, and how people survive in this high density. And this is in Bombay also. You see the sort of very strange coexistence of animal and people. And they're just living together. Actually, these housings are quite expensive. There. So I would say this is maybe more for learning. That is to be in a bigger size, bigger number of people, and especially pre- and post-modern conditions. Then we can see a lot. And also some other reason I want to talk about is that this is an old house in a kind of a little bit south of China. It's made out of the Feng Shui principle. It's called Snake House. It's something maybe we can take a look. And this is a very famous sort of Chinese garden. And we kind of agree with Swen that this is kind of an open form structure, or open form design in the ancient time. This is just another thing in India, in a very famous kind of tourist place, but it's a very, very nice place. People using this Vika, kind of a Vika boat, this kind of boat for crossing the river. Very simple, and at the same time you see the holes of the columns for the temples, old temples here. So it's just it's a place you can do a lot of stuff. And then again, especially it's when you go there, since it's a different culture, and the way of approaching the spirituality there somehow is also interesting. This is the naked monks of Jainism in India. They teach you how to get rid of all the attachment of the life and trying to be more spiritual. So they don't even wear clothes. So they go everywhere naked. But you don't really see it on the street because in India today, probably only 1% of these people today left. And it's not so public. But you can still see it in some areas. So I would say, I'm trying to put it in a better wording. That is to learn from the pre-scientific ways of life and architecture. Because I guess what we can learn is that something beyond, something before what we have learned today. And that's what we should take more seriously. And then I want to just go through the kind of history of what we have done in the, probably on the Asian side, more towards the Asian side in this continent, since maybe 2003. That was the first time, I guess, Sven had brought some students to Istanbul, and we did a workshop there. It's kind of moving towards the east. And then we did an exhibition. This is the bus exhibition here, together in 2004. And then in 2005, we went to Istanbul again to work with Mimar Sinan University and see some faces we know. That was the time we negotiated with the Turkish officer in Harvard to allow us to do something special. See, this was special. They allowed us to paint on the warehouse along the harbor. Do you know who is this? Do you recognize it?
Ivan?
Ivan, yes.
Speak up, yes.
And then in 2005, there were three brave bus people came with me to China. That was the first time. That was the time when we were on the site. This is the second borderline between Shenzhen and the inner China. The second borderline that we were doing studies of this line. And then in 2006, we went to Bombay again to work on, I also do a workshop. And then in 2006 again, some people were in Beijing. This was a difficult work because in the beginning, Dark was trying to do some flags with white sheets, but then get the local people very angry. So then we had to give up. So then we just asked the people passing by to join us to use their body to do a one-to-one sketch on the brick wall. And then we did an exhibition. Actually, we had a chance to sneak in the architecture finale in Beijing. That was the second time. Okay, then. Then Sven, I guess, got more interested, so he went to China more often from this time. This was his first time in China, and we were working with the host site that Professor Wang was talking. And this was, I guess it was Sven's drawing about his vision of the micro scale of Wuhan. And that wasn't discussed anything in China. I guess we kind of trying to brought up this vision. And this is for the mesoscale study. And this was for the micro scale study. And we play with the children there. And then we also went to Tongji in Shanghai. We did a wassail play. And then this was an incident. A magazine in Taiwan asked me to supply some information of the interesting schools in the world. So I gave them fast information. So they put them into 100 world design schools. And also there were some other people who went to China at the same time. There was another group, I guess especially led by Cecilia and some or her friends. And then this was this year, and then we also went to Tongji again. And we did a workshop. And then we also got connection with the Central Art Academy in Beijing. That was the biggest art school, and also probably the best art school in China. And we kind of get a chance to interact with them. This was one occasion that we were discussing the one-to-one sketch. And also Sven did this sketch for kind of proposal for the regeneration of that area. This was more refined drawing. And then we went to Wuhan again for the second time. This time we work on a different site. And this was one of the proposals. This is all Sven's, I think. Is it yours? Yes. Also this yours?
And that's Vince.
This is Vince. Okay, then we got to the third workshop here. And these the first invaders. And then I just want to say, from what I know, because I've been, especially since last year, I've been really working a lot with Sven, because I see him all the time. So I'm trying to say, talk about what I understand about past teaching, from this line, from Oscar Hansen to Sven. What is this thinking about? I have a kind of a paragraph trying to explain this. It's from me in the landscape, looking at seeing, to act, to make community with open form. Somehow I feel this might be a quite inclusive sentence that we can have in mind then as a clue to understand the teaching here. And what's more is that it's not just, I think it's just not what class is teaching. And I think also there's a lot to do with many thinkers in the world. They have similar idea actually. But of course, see how people really illustrate the shape of the mountain. You know, when I see this drawing, I just know how people look at the landscape carefully. And of course, the Feng Shui teaching in China, the first thing is to look at the landscape. And this is a house called Snake House. You know why it's a snake house? Can you see from the image? Can you see where's the snake? Somebody should know. Somebody know?
Yes, the snake is behind the house.
Yes.
The house.
Where is it?
The house is the mouth of the snake.
Yes, but where is the snake? Where?
In behind the house. Oh.
Yes.
So that the dirt or the small mouth you see behind is the snake.
Okay. Yes, in general, the snake was considered behind, but I just tell you, it's very simple actually. You see, this is the snake bones, snake, snake body, and it's kind of making a coil here, making a turn here, and this is the snake tail. This is how people see the snake, how people see the mountain. So they call this snake house, and they use this looking and understanding, and then design the house. And also we know this simple material that we can pick up just outside our house. And so as the Indians, they use this. You know what's this? Can you tell? No. What's that? Yes. It's just a cow shit. And they kind of put it into kind of material for the surface. So this woman is doing this kind of a construction for the finishing of the floor by using these simple things out of the car. And also this is the way that maybe Sven and his friends are making community. Because when I was there this time, the woman, the friend of Sven's, who is a woman, she told me that how they are having fun together. Because they are proud of that their community is the community that could really have fun. So this is how they have fun together. This is their way of having fun in a food market. This woman are selling food on the street, and at the same time they play with their friends on mahjong. And I find this another thing I find what very useful is that at least Swen had kind of probably invented these terms for teaching. One is self-introduction, the second one visual structuring, muscle play, on-site one-to-one sketching, master studies. To me, I find it very useful for teaching the students and for learning. What's more, I want to say at the last is that in general, if I want to put in a theoretical term, the whole bus from Oscar Hansen to Swan to nowadays, I think is still a kind of a tradition out of phenomenology of architecture. And that's why we talk a lot about Heidegger, and sometimes maybe Husserl, people like that. I just want to tell you a story. When I was in architecture school, that was when I was about maybe 23, something like that, 22 or 23. And I heard some scholars, of course they are scholars in Taiwan. I heard them saying that phenomenology is a philosophy that's most close to the Eastern philosophy, or most close to Chinese philosophy. And that's a philosophy that can make the bridge between the East and West. And since then, I got really interested in phenomenology, and I tried to study that when I was in the school. And when I turned into about 32, I added a book on Introduction to Phenomenology of Architecture. So I had this kind of a background of study. That's why I feel this background is quite relevant to me, and I find it very interesting. And then in phenomenology, the key point is that usually trying to go back to the basic, or go back to the thing themselves, things like that. So it's almost just, we have to go back to the essence somehow. And then I would say, in general, the bus teaching is about trying to develop a more sympathetic approach in architecture. And that's what is, I think, very needed today. And then the last image is why we pay respect to the first master of Feng Shui on the top of the mountain, to these statues. So this is a master, and these two pupils. So that was the moment. Yeah, that's my talk today. I just want to maybe, if we have chances, we can meet and continue this discussion later. Thank you.